everyone, and welcome to the Springfield Township Board of Trustees regular meeting. It's Tuesday, July 11th at approximately 5:30 p.m. Mr. Burning, can you please have the roll call?
Yes. Ms. McFarland.
Present.
Mr. Honolo.
Present.
Mr. Burning.
Present.
All the trustees are present.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Today, the board will conduct their annual public hearing regarding the 2018 tax budget in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.28 and 5705.30. I'd like to call to order the public hearing for the 2018 tax budget. I'd also like to note that the proposed 2018 tax budget has been available in the Springfield Township Administration Office since July the 1st for public inspection and review in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code. Mr. Hennenkamp, would you please provide the report and the summary of the 2018 tax budget?
Be happy to, Mr. Burning. The tax budget is, for local governments, is a little different than what most people tend to think of as a budget. This budget is not appropriations or sort of a policy-setting document that many think of in budget. The tax budget is really more of an accounting document. It is a required part of our budgetary process as required by the Ohio Revised Code. And really, the budget itself composes of a history of receipts and expenditures. So we have actuals in both terms of receipts and expenditures for the years 2015 and 2016, and then the actual for the first half of this year, and then projected expenditures and receipts for the remaining half of this year, and of course projections based on what we anticipate for 2018. Our 18 expenditures are generally, anytime you're doing that, you are basing those on the maximum potential expenditures that you anticipate, and to a certain degree you're doing kind of on the minimum amount of revenue that you anticipate, or the sort of guaranteed amounts that you anticipate from a receipt standpoint. After the review and approval of this tax budget, we will then forward that down to the county auditor's office. That is required to be done by July the 20th of this year, and then the county budget commission will review it and eventually return what's known as a certified revenues on or about September 30th, and then the board takes action on that particular action. So really this is the first step in our budget cycle. This really starts the process. The more traditional thought of what a budget is really takes place toward the end of the year, and then the whole process culminates in March of 2018 when the board takes action on a permanent appropriations resolution. We have advertised that, as you mentioned, and the budget has been available for public inspection as required. Really, not a whole lot to report on this. There's not a lot of significant differences or surprises or maybe anticipation of change. This budget does include 37 different funds that we report all of the things, as I mentioned, with receipts and expenditures based on the last 2 years, and then the actual for the first half of this, and then projected for the second half, and then 18. And really about the only sort of outlier or major change that I would just report is in the fire district. And that really just is related to receipts anticipated for 2018, or approximately $600,000 less than in 2017. And that's purely a result of the fact that the 5-year levy ends. This is a ballot initiative. But given that we can't guarantee that that ballot initiative would pass, and so that the levy would continue, we have shown the revenues being down as though it didn't pass or it didn't, wasn't voted approved. So pretty standard. We could have shown it either way in all actuality, but as I mentioned, generally you're reporting your revenues to be, kind of what you quote unquote can kind of guarantee through existing levies in revenues, and not something that you're hoping will go forward. So other than that, really, that's a pretty good summary of it. Kim Cox, our finance director, has spent a lot of hours in preparing this, and while I'm making it sound like it's not a lot, it is a ton of work, and as I said, but it's a ton of work more from an accounting standpoint than it really is, as I said, the board taking some type of action that's going to direct where we go. The board isn't appropriating money or, sort of setting what we're going to spend money on in the future, rather than just say, here's what we expect. So you're not really getting into the line item by line item type thing, and more just reporting what we anticipate. So unless there's any specific questions for either me or for Kim, that's really all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hennenkamp. And is there any comments or questions from the board about the 2018 tax budget?
My only comment would be is on behalf of the board to thank Kim for all her hard work. This is difficult stuff. My head swims just looking at all the numbers, and so no, we do appreciate the hard work that goes into this. You always do a great job with all the township finances and budgeting.
That's what I was going to say too.
Okay,
So those-
good.
I've seen her when she's crunching those numbers and how she makes sure that everything is succinct and organized, and you do a great job. You've done a great job. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or comments about the 2018 tax budget? Okay, given that there's no one who would like to address the board regarding the 2018 tax budget, I now seek a motion to close the public portion of our meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's closed, that part of it.
The board will consider the approval of the 2018 tax budget when it votes on the adoption of Resolution 61-2017 later on this evening. Next, we're lucky tonight to, the Board of Trustees would like to officially recognize the installation of a historical landmark sign in Springfield Township. I'd like to call up from the room a few individuals who were instrumental in the discovery that one of the most significant agriculture inventions was made, designed, tested in Springfield Township. Would Dr. Robert Rohde, Leland Height, and members of the Ohio History Connection please come forward?
Springfield Township was contacted earlier this year with news that new research provided conclusive evidence that one of the most significant agricultural inventions successfully made and tested in the United States was in Springfield Township grounds in 1835, over 182 years ago. The findings made by Dr. Robert Rohde and Leland Height proved that the young Obed Hussey invented the first successful reaper machine on Jedediah Hill's property. Many of us here tonight may be familiar with the name Jedediah Hill, as the historic covered bridge today holds the same name. In the mid-1800s, the resources of being center to it all made the invention of the reaper possible. The Mill Creek provided a waterway to transport heavy materials from one place to another. John Lane's blacksmith shop and Jedediah Hill's son-in-law, Henry Rogers' sawmill, fulfilled the need to make the necessary parts of the reaper's iron teeth and frame. Farmers of the land provided the expertise and labor for testing prototypes. And it's important to note that Obed was a trained sailor, an amateur mechanic, but nervous in farming. In 1835, however, farmers marveled over the agricultural history, as Hussey's machine was strapped to a horse and then stalks the barley with speed, efficiency, and precision never seen before. Mechanical fingers guided the stalks against the cutting mechanisms, and the teeth moved back and forth to cut the grain close to the ground. The grain fell upon a platform where it was gathered together by the dryer. Vast quantities of bread were the natural outcome of the mechanical thought to first be invented by Cyrus McCormick, changed the course of world history by launching an agricultural revolution. Robert Rode and Leland Height co-authored several publications on the agricultural history of Obed Hussey and his inventions. Through the research of the area, they also learned that more than just the reaper was invented on Springfield Township land. One of the first cable suspension bridges that were built on the Lane Farm and an underwater distribution center system was also discovered on the property. Their findings are now documented. The Ohio History Connection approved the marker here before us today. The marker will be on display along with other artifacts at the Cincinnati Civic Orchestra concert on August the 3rd. And the marker will be mounted near the existing historical designation of the Jediah Covered Hill Bridge on September the 9th at 11 o'clock a.m. and a ceremony that the public is invited to.
Gwen, you got the,
Yes. Exciting. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
very nice.
Bob put some of the original pictures on here. We have a sponsor, Brighton Mills. It's a specialty flour manufacturer, and that's their logo down there. But down here, but this is the reaper. Bob had a model made. There's a model of the reaper over here, which is exactly from that picture there. You can
Yeah,
add more to
but only that Gerald Lee of Spring, Texas, he's a transplanted brother. I don't think I can mention. Had maybe here just about a week ago. Had time for this. So
Very nice, very nice.
And I just want to say on behalf of the Ohio History Connection that we make this program possible. We operate the program out of Columbus, and Bob and Lee applied for a marker. And I have to say personally, it was a real education. I grew up in rural northwest Ohio, and I just assumed that you used serrated knives to cut grain. I mean, doesn't everybody?
Yeah.
Doesn't everybody? Well, that's not the case. Obed Hussey was the first, so that was a tidbit of information I added to my brain. And this marker joins about a little over 1,600 around the state of Ohio. And if you notice the number in the bottom, it says 8831. Hamilton County is the 31st county in the state. If you list all the counties alphabetically, put a number in front of it, kind of like the ODOT system. Well, this is the 88th marker in Hamilton County. Now, I have to say something that I don't want to anger anyone, especially police officers, but I have to say that Cuyahoga County has 125, so...
Oh,
a little bit out.
Yeah, so you can catch up.
we can catch up.
That's right.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Just like they probably did.
Oh, exactly. And I say that just of course, but we're very proud to make this program available to enable communities and groups around the state to recognize aspects of their state's history. And I just want to present a read a commendation. And first I want to thank you, Lee and Bob. You were great to work with. And if you want to do another marker, you got my number. I'd be happy to work with you if the occasion should ever arise again. It was a really fun marker to do. And I just have a commendation to Brighton Mills as a sponsor of the marker. The Ohio History Connection commends Brighton Mills H. Nagel and Son Company for furthering the knowledge of our state's heritage by placing an Ohio historical marker on July 11, 2017 that commemorates, honors, and celebrates the legacy of Obed Hussey and his test of the mechanical reaper in 1835, which forever impacted agriculture in Ohio and the United States. Signed, Bert Logan, the Executive Director of the Ohio History Connection, and Robert Lucas, the President of our Board of Trustees. I'll just give that to you.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing this historical information about Springfield Township to light.
We particularly want to thank all of you because you're making tonight possible. When you do research like this and write a paper, we don't have an audience other than whoever happens to read the paper. And I want to thank all the trustees and everyone, particularly Kim Clam and Mike Gould, were enthusiastically helpful in getting all this coordinated. So we really appreciate
it's something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know if it was a Weaver or not.
It probably was.
But,
It was probably made by McCormick, in our age group anyway.
I'm sorry, I just shut up. I didn't know what I was
Because when I grew up in the farm area, yeah, we had them, but they were, Hussey ones, they were making them that more. But you're right, that's probably what it was.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
We go ahead and get one a group
Yeah,
picture.
can we get a group picture just to have,
You guys get in here by this.
one on each side?
One of you come over here.
They're much over here.
Oh, they want the front of it?
Yeah.
Come over here.
This way. Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Yeah, that's one. Great shot. Okay, there we go, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
No, it's heavy.
Bob prepared a little bit of a comment here. Do you have time to?
Sure,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
It won't take up very much time. A little bit more, just.
When Obed Hussey turned his horses' heads into the barley field in Springfield Township in that summer of 1835, he and the crowd of onlookers were about to witness a mechanical breakthrough to test the first truly successful reaper, a machine for mowing wheat or barley or any other small grain. And in that time, most Americans ate products made from corn flour, not wheat flour. Typical meals consisted of fried cornmeal or cornbread crumbled in milk. Most wheat flour was imported, as a matter of fact. Growing a small patch of wheat was labor-intensive, as all the work preceding the threshing was done by hand. Growing corn was also a Herculean task, but producing corn took fewer steps than wheat required, and the yield had greater bulk. When Hussey commanded those horses to step through the field at a lively pace, and the cutting bar began to topple the grain onto the reaper's raking apron, Hussey, who was a transplanted inventor from Maine and Maryland, was changing the world. Hussey was 2 years ahead of twins Hiram and John Pitt's invention of a threshing machine. Logically, the reaper had to precede the thresher because only a mower could make it possible to plant enough wheat to justify the use of a machine to separate the grain from the stalks. With a devotion to his dream that might have struck some as hard-headed, Hussey was quickly proving his machine worked, and worked well. A mere dozen years after the test in the Springfield Township barley field, one of America's leading exports would be wheat. Common citizens consumed the fine wheat bread that only a decade earlier had been reserved for kings. Thanks to Hussey, taverns along the thoroughfares of a growing nation began serving baked goods made from wheat flour. In 1842, the great English author Charles Dickens, during his visit westward into the hinterlands beyond the comfort and security of America's East Coast, ordered, quote, wheat bread and chicken fixings, in preference to cornbread and common doings, unquote. Yes, even the commonest hostelry on the frontier was serving wheat bread to all travelers, regardless of their social class, only 7 years after Hussey's test of the first successful reaper. Hussey's adopted Buckeye State offered good iron to make machines for farming, bountiful coal to fire the factories to make the machines, and productive soil just waiting for farmers to plant wheat. No small factor in Hussey's decisions was his recognition that a small blacksmith shop along a creek in Springfield Township was more vital to him than a large foundry in Cincinnati, because a chief characteristic of the Lane family that ran that blacksmith shop was extraordinary inventiveness. And nearby was the Rogers sawmill, the perfect marriage of iron and wood. When Miller Jediah Hill, Sawyer Henry Rogers, who was Hill's son-in-law, and blacksmith John Lane, as well as his sons, and farmers Algernon Sidney Foster and Thomas Jefferson Foster observed that team pulling Hussey's reaper through the falling barley, they were watching the perfect storm of opportunity. The population of this country soon exploded for a variety of reasons, not the least of which was inexpensive, high-quality wheat bread. The reaper's success stimulated growth in railroads, which had been lagging behind, but which were suddenly necessities for carrying massive amounts of wheat to markets formerly reached only by river or canal. Meanwhile, Hussey's reaper won award after award in England, making his machine the reaper of choice at home and abroad. The only quality Hussey lacked was the shrewd business acumen of his competitor Cyrus H. McCormick, whose tireless efforts to take ownership of Hussey's invention finally paid off, vaulting McCormick's name to the top of history's page. The truth of Hussey's achievement will not vanish, for on that storied day in 1835, here in Springfield Township, Hamilton County, Ohio, Hussey indeed changed the world.
Thank you.
I understand why you don't want that other name mentioned even more.
He did sue and win. Okay, the trustees would like to take this opportunity to introduce 4 new police officers to the Springfield Township Police Department. Mr. Hinnenkamp, would you tell us about the new hires?
Be pleased to do that. As the board's aware, we've been under our budgeted amount for staffing for probably the last, 2 years, I guess, slightly under. And with these new hires, we are at full level. So beginning earlier in this, I guess probably right around the first of the year, we started this process. It's a, if anybody knows anything about the hiring process in police departments in general, and certainly ours is a very involved process. It's involved testing, interviews, backgrounds, and then we did conduct final interviews with the candidates in May, and on July the 3rd, made final offers where I actually hired the 4 police officers, 3 full-time, 1 part-time, which, as I mentioned, bring us up to our full complement. So, Chief, I'll request you to introduce our newly appointed officers and give a little background about each one of them.
Okay, gentlemen, can you step forward, please? Thank you, Mr. Hinnenkamp. As Mr. Hinnenkamp said, one of the toughest tasks of being a Springfield Township police officer is becoming a Springfield Township police officer. Very rigorous hiring process. By the time we're finished, we inform these gentlemen of some things they didn't know about themselves. So it's a very tough process, and it's not easy to get to this point. First, we have Officer Eric Wederick, who's not with us. He's going to be working all night again tonight, so he was not able to be here tonight. Eric has over 13 years of law enforcement experience. He's worked with the City of Forest Park, the Five River Metro Parks Police Department, which is in the Dayton, Ohio area, and the Village of Green Hills Police Department. Next, we have Officer Chad McGuffey. Chad joins us from the Norwood Police Department. He's also worked for the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office and the Corrections Division, and he has over four years of experience. Eric Robinson also came to us from the City of Norwood Police Department. He's also worked for the City of Loveland Police Department and the Cedar Point Police Department, and he also has over 4 years of experience. Officer Derek Herzog, who's joining us in a part-time position at this point, is a recent graduate of the Great Oaks Police Academy, and Derek has been employed with the Beach Water Park as the aquatics manager for over 3 years. So we welcome all 4 of these gentlemen to our organization.
Thank you, Chief Browder, Officer McGuffey, Officer Robinson, Officer Wederick, Officer Herzog for joining our team. Thank you. You guys can now be seated.
Great, thank you.
Before we don't forget, why don't we do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Good idea.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Late than never.
Mr. Burning, we have minutes for approval from the June 13th regular meeting and June 27th, 2017 regular work session. If there's no correction or changes, go ahead.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We also have a financial report, Mr. Burning.
Yeah, I have the fiscal officer report for the month ending June 30th, 2017. The township expenditures were $1,309,525.71, and the receipts were $463,812.35. The ending cash balance of $19,083,033.09 includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. I request a motion to approve receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenue reports for the period ending June 30th, 2017. Do I have a,
So moved.
Seconded.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, and I just want everyone to know that financial reports are available for viewing at the administration offices weekdays during regular business hours or on our website anytime. Thank you, Mr. Burning.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Mr. Hinnenkamp could give us your report on departmental action and discussion items.
Yes, Mr. Burning. First action item that I have is to have the board authorize our application for 20% distribution funds. This is a program that is through the Hamilton County Engineers Office. This is something we do each year at this time of the year, where the county engineer makes available something known as 20% funds that he makes available to each of the townships in the county. The distribution is based on a variety of factors, population and mileage and those types of things. And then each community has the opportunity to make an application for utilization of those funds. What is typical is we seek a motion from the board to make that application, and has been our past practice is we've used these funds, the total amount for the township's about $23,000. So we make these funds available and utilize them to apply reclamite to newly resurfaced streets in the township. Reclamite is an oil-based product that is recommended for streets that have recently been repaved, and the product is intended to extend the long-term life of that street. So it's been a process we've used, gosh, I think for as long as I've been here, and that would be our application. The estimated cost would be approximately $20,000, and then the remaining balance would remain in that account and be available for us for next year, in addition to the full allotment that we get each year.
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries to apply for that.
Next two items I have is to seek the board's authorization to enter into agreements, school resource officer agreements. We can do these as separate motions. The first would be for the Mount Healthy Student Resource Officer Agreement. There are no changes to this agreement based on how it's been structured previously.
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Hinnenkamp,
Yes, ma'am.
with these resource officers, is it a continuation of the resource officers that already are there? Or
You're talking about this specific personnel?
yes.
Well, that's not necessarily what this action
Right,
has
I
to
know.
do with. I mean, I don't think at this point there's, that's generally a posted position. I don't know where we are in that process, but I don't think there's any changes anticipated, is there?
There's no anticipated changes. They actually do 6-year periods within that role, and
Okay.
they are just new to those, so that, no, there's not going to be any changes for some time.
Okay, because that was a question that was asked, and I just thought about it as we were doing this agreement. Okay.
Yeah,
thank
but it's not related to these.
you. Right, right. I
That's
know
a
that.
separate process internally. Likewise, we've got the similar agreement for the Finneytown Student School Resource Officer Agreement.
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we have a liquor, excuse me, a liquor permit request for Omnipresent, doing business as Take a Break at 10976 Hamilton Avenue. And I believe there's actually two parts to this. One is for carry out as well. Is that
That's correct. It is a state liquor store, it's not a bar, it's just a state liquor store. That's why there's two separate things for it. It's a transfer of the ownership of the permit, and then a second one comes into play because of the fact that it is a state liquor store.
It's the one in the mall, in that little strip.
Correct.
Center, yeah.
Seven Hills Plaza, yes.
And Chief, I don't believe we have any objection. correct?
No objection.
So,
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we direct the clerk to send the appropriate correspondence to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control.
And I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
the last action item I have is just to reschedule two public hearings. We set these public hearings at our last work session for dangerous properties, and unfortunately, we forgot that we had already scheduled public hearings for two additional road projects, two assessment projects. So what I'd like to do is reschedule them, same date. These would be for August the 8th. We had previously scheduled one for 9084 Arrowhead at 4:45. I'd like to switch that to 4 p.m. And the dangerous property at 234 Beach Ridge was previously set at 5. I would now like to set that for 4:15. And as I said, just need a motion from the board to adjust those times.
So moved.
My calendar looks pretty clear, if I can remember, that far in advance, so I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, 'tis the season. We've got a lot of orange barrels in the township, a lot of construction going on. I thought this would be a good time. Unfortunately, Mike's not with us tonight. He's on vacation, but give a board a quick update on where we are with construction projects that are either planned or ongoing in the township. I think the one that everybody is anxiously waited is the project that we have going on at Hempstead. A good portion, in fact, I think nearly all of the curb work is completed on that project, so they'll be moving it on to the actual street surface here very quickly. That's a project that we're doing in conjunction with the Hamilton County Engineers Office. They are doing the Daly Road portion, but Hempstead and Melanie is well underway, and we are on schedule to complete that project in November of this year. Within the next few days, or few weeks actually, our Kemper Mill project up in the Pleasant Run Farm area, which is curbed and resurfacing, should be complete. Anticipated date for completion of that project is July 31st of this month. And then we had two public hearings earlier tonight on the Golf View and the Lakeshore Estates projects. Next month, we'll have a similar public hearing on the Millbrook in Lakeview portions, but those projects are all anticipated to get started, at least Golf View, Lakeshore Estates, and Millbrook, three very large projects. They are anticipated to get started on September 1st, and we're anticipating completion on November the 1st for those projects. We're still holding out some hope. This is another joint project we're doing with the county engineers at the north leg of Winton Road from Sarbrook to the Green Hills line will be resurfaced yet this year. We're we're getting very close to that not being a possibility, but if it doesn't get in for 2017, that will be an early spring project in 2018. And our Lakeview project will coincide with that, because it's a joint project, and those will be bid together. That's the Lakeview's Estate subdivision, which is on the north end of that, on that project. Mentioned the county has a couple of projects going on. We've already talked about the north part of Winton Road, the Daly Road project, as mentioned with Hempstead. Major project, major construction taking place on Meredith. That's been a difficult project from a traffic standpoint for the affected folks, but we're getting close. That project is anticipated to be complete in October 1st of this year. And then also another project, this isn't really the county, but MSD has been working on a major pump station and sewer project in the Millbrook subdivision, specifically down on Woodfield. This is it's a major undertaking, but this is a project that has caused a great deal of concern of the residents. It's, as I said, it's complicated, but huge impact to that particular neighborhood with the dust and the dirt, and it's been ongoing, but hopefully that project is scheduled to wrap up in September, so hopefully it'll remain on schedule. Would mention that we have, I've asked Mike Gould to get in touch with the contractor and MSD, and they're going to conduct a meeting out really right at the site, kind of in the cul-de-sac down in that area on July the 19th, so next Wednesday night at 6:30. Specifically for those residents, we've been sort of disappointed with the communication that's taken place between the contractor and the residents on street closures and unexpected things that have taken place. And it's kind of gotten to the boiling point where we want to, it's not our project, it's not something we have really ultimately any control over, but we're just trying to facilitate the communication and make sure that residents can get straighter answers, and that the contractor's aware that some of the things that they've done have been unacceptable regarding notice of closures and things of that nature. So obviously that's for those residents down in that area, but open and will take place on the street. Board, obviously, most folks have probably seen the repaving that's taken place out on Cross County Highway. That's been a ODOT project. They're also going through and repairing the sound barrier walls along the way. That projects have been moving sort of from the west to the east, and that work will continue throughout the summer. We do get a lot of calls about a project that also is not ours, but some time ago, Woodlawn had some slippage of the road at Lee Crest, and that project has been creeping along, and we don't have a whole lot of information that we can pass along, but they should contact Woodlawn about that. I think a lot of folks, the north side of that road, which is actually not where the slippage occurred, is a county and in the township, but I'm sorry, not the north, but the west side, the east side is actually in Woodlawn, so it's their project, and it's been frustrating for the residents because it really doesn't look like much has been taking place, but it is a project outside of our control. We also do have two stormwater projects where the township received funding through a grant process through the Hamilton County Stormwater District. We've got a storm sewer repair taking place on Wellesley. The township received about $50,000 in grant funding, and also one in the Finneytown area on Sabino off of Pringle, where there'll be a storm sewer lining repair done, and we received about $40,000 from the district in grant money to make that repair. And we're ramping up for 2018. Mike has been looking at, we've had some discussions on potential skip applications that are good candidates for areas that we want to apply for funding. In 2018, that process, applications are due in the early part of the fall, like September timeframe. Unfortunately, we are informed that there are 0 loan dollars available this year in this round, and only $3.5 million of loan dollar or grant dollars available countywide. So it is going to be a very, very competitive and difficult process. But we're confident. We've got some projects that we think will rate well. The budgeted amount might be the right amount to sometimes what happens with SCIP is you get only that amount of money. That might be one or two projects, and then there might be some residual dollars available. And we feel like we kind of had the sweet spot on some of our projects. So we'll be working on that as well as our pavement preservation projects. So we'll have a full slate of capital improvements for 2018 as well. So I don't know if the board had any questions on any of these infrastructure projects, but busy, but making a lot of progress. All right. Also would mention that we have been working with Cincinnati Magazine, and Cincinnati Magazine will be doing an insert in, I believe, Kim, their upcoming August edition, which will come out in late July or early August. And there will be a feature, I think 36-page feature regarding Springfield Township. And would like to thank all the businesses that have participated in advertising in that insert and providing the sponsorship. That's what makes it happen. And also special thanks to Kim for the job that she's done. She's done a fantastic job. I think it's been a really good experience, you working with Cincinnati Magazine to give them the information about the township, and it should be a great product. So, Kim, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add on that front.
I think that is just the next step in us branding the township with the center to it all. We were able to really tell our story in this publication, so it's exciting.
I would just like to make a comment. Some of those individuals that I met, they did not know all of the great things about our township. So it was really an educational opportunity for them to learn about, the gifts and how we really are the center of it all here in Springfield Township. And it was, the businesses were really excited to meet those individuals as well. And I just think everybody just did a great job.
I think it's important to note that given the fact that the advertisement of the local businesses that were going to be in part of the feature actually caused the township not to incur any out-of-pocket expense for this advertising. So I think it's important to note.
Right. That's a great point.
And Kim, I know I had heard a lot of good things about how Cincinnati Magazine was so happy to work with you because you were very instrumental in getting them all the information they needed to put the whole insert together.
They were a great team to work with. Their whole staff was fantastic, very creative people, and everybody around here in the township pulled together to get all of the information out. It was a huge group effort for sure.
Thank you.
So we'll be on the lookout for that. Fire department's been busy. We have some exciting things relative to recognition by the American Heart Association. But we have received a community paramedicine grant and then also received our 5-year accreditation through the Academy of Medicine. So, Chief, I'd turn things over to you and let you bring us up to date on those 3 actions.
Be pleased to do so. On June the 19th, the Springfield Township Fire Department Division of EMS received the Cardiac Intervention Recognition Award, also known as the Mission Lifeline Award from the American Heart Association. 61 fire departments out of 1,151 fire departments in Ohio received this award. Only 61 out of 1,051. So we can be very pleased of our accomplishment. Also, 8 fire departments in Southwest Ohio also received an award. The Mission Lifeline Award validates our quality of our EMS operations and provides our residents with tangible and legitimate evidence of our ongoing mission to be the best at cardiac emergency intervention. I'd like to thank and recognize Lieutenant Kevin Richards, Training Assistant Marilyn Goen, Training Assistant John Busing, and Training Assistant Alex Villanueva for facilitating this process. Also, on June the 23rd, the Springfield Township Fire Department, Division of EMS, in collaboration with the Tri-Health Corporate Health, received a $200,000 planning grant from Bethesda, Inc. The funding will enable Tri-Health Corp Health and the Springfield Township Fire Department to develop an innovative community paramedicine model focused on behavioral health. Once the planning is completed, the program will ultimately train paramedic teams to assess patients' behavioral health needs in a non-emergency setting and make referrals to the most appropriate community resource. The goal is to develop a model that will set the foundation for paramedics to provide behavioral health intervention by using telemedicine and on-site services in the home while connecting patients with non-emergency care when needed. And the behavioral health that we want to focus on is really depression, anxiety, and early onset dementia. And quite honestly, we do see quite a bit of that in Springfield Township. So that's going to be our focus. And then the other one is on July the 5th, the Springfield Township, also Division of EMS, completed a voluntary accreditation process by the Greater Cincinnati Academy of Medicine. The maximum accreditation of 5 years was awarded. The accreditation is a quality indicator and validates compliance with rigorous federal and state standards, as well as local protocols. Thank you, Mr. Hinnekamp. That's all.
Thanks, Chief. I think it's important to note, especially on the grant, the paramedicine grant, this is something that Chief Leininger has been working on, I know, for probably 2 or 3 years. It's something that we've looked at. And really, for those of you, it's fairly new concept, but other parts of the country have moved in this direction. But I think it's worth noting that this is something really future of how paramedics will be utilized. It doesn't affect our ongoing operations currently. So, the fire levy is necessary. When people hear that, hey, they got a grant, they don't need the new levy. These are two completely separate things. This funding won't come directly to Springfield Township. It basically facilitates us to investigate this further in partnership with Tri-Health in Bethesda, but doesn't affect our current operations. This really looks down the road as to how EMS might be utilized and fire departments utilized in the future. So not something that, allows us not to need the levy. That levy is going to be absolutely critical for us to maintain what we have today. So we've heard a couple people that have already mentioned that they're a little confused by that. So wanted to make that clarification, but we're very, very excited about that. And certainly congratulations to Chief for
Mike, thanks for
working
clarifying.
on that on a long time.
Thank you for clarifying that, because our chief has been involved at the state level as well, just trying to educate at the state level how critical such a program and a project could be to extend and sustain the quality of life for residents in the township. And he even was able to get a lot of support from Senator Seitz. And so Senator Seitz is really on board and feels that this township and the work that you're doing is very progressive toward enhancing the quality of life of residents in our township.
Yes, it was very critical changing some of the legislation that was needed for us to move forward with community paramedicine.
And I'm excited, and with my background, because when they go, you're going to be like the pivotal person when your staff, when our EMTs answer a 911 call. They're not just looking at the person; they're looking at the person and their environment, just to determine as they're assessing, what the other needs may be as well, which I think is great.
And just one more clarification back on the levy is this, as we all have noted previously, that is not an increase. That's just
true.
continuous. So it's not new. It's not to do anything different than continue what is already in place. So it's a renewal. Yes. Mentioned a little bit earlier about the improvements.
Mike, I just would want to say one thing. Chief, I go back and think of the days when we started the Township Fire Department and how we had this vision of creating a world-class fire department, that we were going to be top-notch services. And I just want to say you guys have delivered, and you've really come through. These are 3 prestigious awards that you've gotten, and we truly appreciate it and appreciate the job you guys do every day.
Well, thank you. And the key to good leadership is surround yourself with great people. So my staff get all the credit. Thank you.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier about some of the improvements to the Reagan Highway, Cross County Highway, anybody who's driven, especially the section that, well, really the whole section, but really especially the portion that goes from Winton Road east down, pretty much all the way down to I-75, the vast majority of that, which is in Springfield Township. The trash that is collected in that section is really abysmal. And it seems to, every time kind of as winter ends, you see a lot of it, just things that have blown and, over the winter. And usually it cleans up, but it really hasn't. It's just really collecting, and it seems to be something that's getting worse. And I know it's kind of a personal frustration of mine. I drive that quite a bit. We've received a lot of complaints from residents, especially residents down in the Ridgeway and Caldwell area, about how it's even blowing into their neighborhoods. But it's just amazing what people will throw out of their window, or I don't know where it comes from. But anyway, it's something that's been frustrating for residents, and I've asked Mike Gould to look into that, and he has, and we've actually contacted ODOT, and we did get a good response from ODOT, and they will have crews working on that. In addition to the work that I mentioned, the repairs that they're going to be making to the sound barrier wall and the repaving in the area. They are actually have set up a contract with the Center for Employment Opportunities, and they will have workers out there picking up a lot of litter and cleaning up the right-of-way throughout Hamilton County, but certainly in our area as well. So just wanted to bring the board up to date on that. The last thing I have is the personnel update. And in our admin, we did hire Tamara Kunkel as a part-time secretary receptionist. Her effective date was July the 3rd of this year. In our fire department, we have hired a new part-time EMT firefighter, and that is Shannon Osterfield, also effective date of July the 3rd. We met earlier this evening, our 4 new hires, 3 full-time officers, Chad McGuffey, Eric Robinson, Eric Wederick, and then also part-time Derek Herzog, and effective dates of July the 3rd as well. And then we did add a new seasonal laborer to the service department. Josh Harrison joined us on June the 12th. I know the board has copies of the departmental activity reports. There's no questions on that. I'll turn things over to Kim, and Kim can bring us up to date with community events and programs.
Thank you. Friday, tomorrow night, I'm off. This Friday, we have the rescheduling of the My Sister Sarah concert. We're going to be doing that indoors at the Grove Banquet Hall because the event was rained out last week. The following week, we're bringing Soul Pocket in concert, and that's going to be an outdoor concert event. July 28th, which is the following week after that, we're doing our Arts Connect Cafe afternoon lunch concert. We've got a Latin duo coming in, and the food truck is Cuban Pete. On August the 3rd, we're doing the Cincinnati Civic Orchestra concert. And then August the 9th, the police department is doing a K-9 demonstration and doing their community awareness night back at the Grove Banquet Hall. Then on August the 18th, we'll begin the Arts Connects Theater Series with She Sang Freedom.
So, on July the 28th, we have Latino kind of a opportunity. So are you going to be teaching salsa dancing?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I should probably bring in a salsa teacher. That would be pretty cool.
That would be fun.
Gwen can do
You know
salsa.
salsa, don't you?
I know a little, but I
Gwen can
need to get
teach
warmed
salsa.
up. And I could get warmed up with probably our police chief and our fire chief.
No, thank you.
We've seen that before.
That was break. Was that break dance?
Challenge.
I don't need to see that again. Kim, the report says July 17th for the My Sister Sarah reschedule. That's incorrect,
The 14th.
Right? It's the 14th.
It's the 14th.
That's what I thought.
Sorry about that. It is this Friday.
Okay. So Burning, that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hennenkamp. We have 6 6 resolutions this evening. First one, resolution number 60-2017, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Second resolution is number 61-2017, adopting the 2018 tax budget. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next one is resolution number 62-2017, adopting the estimates and specifications reported by the county engineer for improvement to Lockrest Drive, Winstead Lane, Whitestone Court, Riddle Road, Tipton Court, Stonehurst Lane, and Altaview Court, approving and confirming the assessments for such improvement and ordering that the improvements proceed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Resolution number 63-2017, adopting the estimates and specifications reported by the county engineer for improvement to Acreview Drive, Cheshire Drive, Silverglade Court, Stargate Lane, and Silverbrook Drive, approving and confirming the assessments for such improvement and ordering that the improvement proceed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is resolution number 64-2017, authorizing the private sale of junk motor vehicles which were titled to the township pursuant to revised code 4513-61 and revised code 4513-62, and which are not needed or unfit for use in any township department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And the last resolution, number 65-2017, authorizing sale by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the police department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Those are all our resolutions. Is there any old business before the board?
I have no old business.
And I have none as well. It's been kind of a short month. Just seems like it just zoomed real quick.
How about new business?
Let's see.
I have none.
Okay, now it's time for our citizen participation. If anyone would like to address the board, please stand up, come up, and give us your name and address.
My name is Lindsay Wilcox, and I live at 10921 Tangleberry Court. This is about parking in the fire lane. On July 4th, our street was completely blocked by a party at 10926 from 4 o'clock to 11:30. I called the police department. I got an answering machine, or somebody said, message. Nobody. This is the first time this has happened. It happened on Super Bowl Sunday, and 2 other times, one in the spring and one, I think, late May, at this very same house. On Tangleberry Court, there is illegal parking in the fire lane every day. I've called the police department. I've called several times. I called one time, the lady was parked there for 4.5 hours. The police came. She was getting ready to write a ticket. The lady pulled up. The police pulled away. Now, if you don't ticket these people, they are going to continue to do this. On July 4th, you couldn't get a fire truck up there or an ambulance. We couldn't even get out of our driveway. And this isn't the first time. And I want to know why somebody isn't ticketing. If a police officer drove down Misty Hill and looked to his left at Tangleberry Court, because they were parked all the way to the corner, he would have seen the street was blocked.
Chief?
Chief, are you aware of the situation?
I am not. First of all, I apologize that you didn't make contact with somebody on July the 4th.
Super Bowl Sunday and got the same answer
Okay, well, it should go, on certain holidays, we don't have our dispatchers there. It should go directly to the Hamilton County Communications Center where a person answers. Why that didn't happen, I don't know, but I'm certainly going to find out.
You know, any night, a policeman can drive down Misty Hill and look to his left and see 2 or 3 cars parked on the wrong side of the road.
We take fire lanes very seriously, and I can promise you there'll be a police officer within 10 minutes of our meeting being finished tonight going up there to look at it. So, but again, I apologize that you didn't make contact with someone.
We just would like it enforced. I mean, if we had a medical emergency, a person could die or their house would burn down before you get all
Well,
the
we're happy to take care of this for you. I'll see to it personally.
And I have another question. When are you going to finish the streets in Seven Hills? I think there's 6. Tangleberry Court, Crystal Hill, Birch Ridge, Roosevelt, Short Hill, and part of Spruce Hill. Tangleberry Court has been surfaced one time in 44 years. That's how long I've lived there.
Ma'am, the issue of the repair of streets in Springfield Township is a tough issue. We have repeatedly put a road levy on the ballot, and it was, well, let me finish my answer, please. And so it was voted down by the residents. The township trustees can propose taxes, we can't enact them. And so we have gone to the voters, and the voters have said, no, we don't want these expenditures. For Seven Hills, what we've done, we've tried to be as creative as possible, and we have applied for community block grant money, which, Chris, I think you can maybe give us more information on this, but we have used community block grant money to fix as many streets there as we could using grants of federal dollars. Some of the areas, the way the census tracts work up there, and I think Misty Hill might be one of them, it doesn't qualify for block grant money. It's
It was Blue Hill Drive that we were having an issue with. We did the survey and eventually got that taken care of, but we generally do apply for block grant funds. They're available in 3-year cycles. We'll be applying again this year for the 18, 19, and 20 cycle, and I can assure you that we'll look at streets in the qualifying areas. Seven Hills will be one of those main areas we look at applying for funding for, and given the fact that the funding for the block grant program was recently approved, I suspect there will be some monies available, and I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get some funding to do some resurfacing in some of those neighborhoods, Seven Hills being one of them. So,
Well, yeah, in 3 or 4 years, Tangleberry Court's going to be nothing but mud. We put in a new driveway and an apron, and we put our own curb in. The curb is gone, is breaking up, and we put the curb in so we can preserve our apron. And when your curb goes, your apron goes.
So you will receive some notification sometime at the end of this year or next year?
we make application toward the end of this year for the block grant funding cycle for 2018, 19, and 20. They do it in 3-year cycles. So we'll make application in the fall of this year. We'll receive some sort of a notification early part of 18 in terms of what will be funded based on the applications we provided. So sometime probably the spring of 18, we'll know for sure whether or not any of our applications for block grant funding will be awarded. And again, you know, it's really going to be up to this board to determine the priority and which areas we apply for. And then ultimately it'll be up to the county community development department to determine what applications are actually awarded. So I'm assuming right now that we'll be making some applications for some street resurfacing. And again, I'm assuming that some of those areas will be in Seven Hills because it is a qualifying area and an area in which we've been successful in the past at getting block grant funding for street repairs for. But ultimately, again, it'll be this board's decision in terms of what to apply for, and then ultimately the community development department at the county will be the agency responsible for notifying us of the awards for grant funding. So we'll know sometime in early 18 whether that funding will be awarded. But I think in the interim, we'll probably talk to our public works director to see what can be done in the interim to see if there's any repairs that can be made up there. Just if there's any potholes or anything, we'll make sure that those are taken care of.
One side of the street where the water runs down on the right side going up, it's almost all rail.
Okay.
Is that Tangleberry?
Mrs. Wilcox, we do understand it's a problem. It's a priority. We have tried aggressively to use block grant money to fix the streets in Seven Hills, and we have been successful in doing a number of them. But you're right, there's always more, and it's trying to stretch taxpayer dollars as far as we can everywhere.
I also understand that our governor is taking a lot of our money. He's got this all around the state.
They did do that, yes. Yes, he
And
did.
continues to do that.
Yes,
I know,
Yep.
because I'm dead.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just would, again, mention that, probably the program that we've got going on right now is the most aggressive that we maybe have had in Township's history. But if it's not your street that's being repaved, it doesn't really help you. So it's, we continue to have what we call the red streets, which are the ones that are failed, and go after them best we can with all the tools available. We're making progress, but it's going to take some time.
Would anybody else like to address the board?
Kyle Hubbard, 8527 Pringle. I just wanted to commend and thank Chief Browder and the Springfield Township Police Department publicly. There was an attempted break-in and burglary at my place of business Saturday morning, about 3 a.m. They did successfully get into the back door. However, I have steel bars just inside, and actually the reaction on the video when they saw those was pretty priceless. They did not get in. They did not steal anything. However, as soon as my alarm was triggered, several officers had responded within about 3 minutes. I have no doubt that if they had gotten in, they would have been caught. And I just wanted to thank Chief Browder and the Springfield Township Police Department, and I hope you'll pass that on for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hubbard. Would anybody else like to address the board this evening? Okay, if there's no other business before the board, I would introduce a motion to adjourn the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees.
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.